Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here. Today we are going to be doing some color grading. I'm going to be color grading some log footage. I am kind of trying my hand at some of this stuff, trying to really explore all of the different settings within my camera and get the most out of my dynamic range when I am shooting video. And this particular clip that we're going to be color grading, I did shoot in S-Log2 in my Sony A7RIII. I will have all of my gear list in the description of this video. If you're looking for some kind of like encouragement or inspiration to try your hand at new things, maybe explore all of the different settings that your camera has to offer, even if it's kind of daunting and it's challenging, you don't really know, let me be the first to kind of put myself out there and show you what all you can do, even if you're not a pro at it. So we are going to be doing some color grading with this S-Log clip that I shot yesterday. I intentionally shot it midday. I was really trying to make this kind of as challenging as I possibly could so that I could really just explore how much I can get out of S-Log versus my normal picture profile settings that I go for. I normally shoot in Cine3 in my Sony, but just seeing how much dynamic range S-Log has to offer versus all the other picture profiles that Sony has, I really wanted to try this and see if I like the colors more, if it gives me a little bit more creative flexibility, and all of those things. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that it's inspiring. Even trying new things can be a little bit daunting, but it doesn't always have to be something to deter you from that challenge. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to show you the clip that I'm working with. Like I said, I shot this midday. I was intentionally trying to make this as difficult as possible to really just kind of show you what all you can accomplish in a difficult scenario with challenging settings in your camera and the flexibility that you get from your image. So this is the clip that we're working with. I've already converted it from S-Log to Rec 709. You can do that within Final Cut, or you can do it within Premiere or whatever color grading application you use. I am a Final Cut girly. I may switch. I don't know right now. I love that I know the bulk of everything that I'm working with. So I'm probably going to stick it out for now, but maybe later I'll end up switching. But this is the clip we're working with. I'm trying to get the most out of my image here. So we'll just kind of play around with everything and I'll talk you through it. And hopefully it ends up looking really cool at the end. Okay, so starting out with the image like it looks raw, this is what it looks like just straight out of the camera. Really bland and desaturated and like all of the shadows and the highlights and everything. It's just like kind of like a blank canvas. So what we need to do is we need to convert it to Rec 709 and balance the color and get the white balance done correctly. So I already went ahead and went into the settings here in Final Cut and changed the color space override to Rec 709. So it is converted, but you can come over here to this magic little wand and press balance color, and the application will kind of like help expand, like re-expand all of the data so that your shadows and your highlights and your midtones go further across this waveform, the Rec 709 waveform. And you basically want everything to reach 0 to 100. So your shadows go all the way down to the dark and your highlights go back up to where they were. And so this is kind of what we're working with. So we'll use the color wheels to add back in that saturation that we lose when we're shooting in S-Log, and we'll also use the color wheels to kind of expand and, you know, darken the shadows and lighten the highlights and kind of rebalance that color the way that we need it to be on this chart here. So here's what I have that I already was working with. And I came in here and pulled the shadows down. So if you watch on the chart over there, if you pull the shadows down, we see that all of the RGB waveforms and the light waveforms here are getting closer to the 0 line, which is what we want. We want to brighten the highlights so that it reaches closer to that 100 line. We don't want to like completely blow it out, but we are going to get it close to that line there. I intentionally don't want my highlights to be blown out and clipping anyway, so I'm not going to completely push it, but I will also if you see, I brought the midtones up. So leaving them as they were, we kind of lose a lot of the detail here in the mid-range. So coming over to the midtones and pushing that up towards the 70 line here. Not too much. I don't want to completely wash out the image. We still want to have some level of contrast, but I don't want it to be as dark as it was. So kind of pulling that up a little bit. And then we'll go to our color curves, which I kind of already manipulated. So that's what it looks like when I add in the curves. I'm still wanting like that filmy look. So I definitely don't want the highlights to be super, super bright and the blacks to be really, really dark. So I might manipulate this a little bit more to where this isn't quite as dark, and maybe bring the midtones down just a little bit. A lot of this for me, and I've said this before, I am self-taught. So a lot of this stuff I learned either on YouTube or from friends or whatever, just in my creative journey. And if I am not doing this right and you're a professional color grader and all that, that's fine. Good for you. You feel free to let me know that I'm doing it wrong. I get that maybe that's the case. I kind of just go with what I like and what looks good to my eye and do some comparison with what I'm seeing in the industry and kind of strive towards that. But because I am self-taught, this is like a little bit of a journey of trying to figure out, you know, how to get there, how to get the look that I'm wanting without just trying to figure out how to get the look that I'm wanting and what I see on like YouTube or TV or in movies and stuff, just with the limited information that I have and my experience. So if I'm doing it wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments what I can do better, because I'm always looking to improve. But don't get mad at me, because, you know, I am self-taught. So, but I definitely want to maintain like an even look of the blue sky here, which that may be something else that I can kind of control later on. But I also tend to edit my photos with this weird looking S-curve, and I love the look of my photos, so I might kind of edit in that direction and see what the chart is showing me and go from there. But I'm thinking if you just kind of create like an S-curve with all of the RGB curve lines here, we can even out the red, green, and blue in each section of the picture here. So I'm just going to kind of try to bring the highlights and the reds up a little bit so that it matches the green and the blue, and maybe drop the blue just a little bit so it evens out with the green. And then I can come in with my creative color and manipulate it from there. So let's see what we can do here. So the blues are really blue in the highlights, so I'm going to bring that down. Like I said, I may be doing this wrong. Don't get mad at me. I am just going off of this chart here and trying to match it. And the greens are they're a little bit lower than the blues and the reds and the shadows. So I might drop the reds in the shadows a little bit to really kind of bring that out. So if you manipulate one of the colors, it also pushes the other one in the opposite direction. So that's not really what I'm wanting. Just kind of, let's focus on bringing the reds up to match the blues and the greens. Okay, let's see. I want to bring the greens down just a little bit. So far, this is what we're working with. We're starting to see a little bit more dynamic range here come through the image. So it's a little bit less flat of an image. So this is before we added in the color curves, and this is after. So we're starting to see quite a little bit of differentiation between the shadows and the midtones and the highlights. And I'm really liking it. It's looking pretty cinematic. It's really pretty. I just am struggling here with the reds and not quite matching up with the greens and the blues. And the blues, it's likely due to the fact that the sky is such a big part of this image that it's really coming through in the highlights. And I do want that, but I definitely do want the image to be a little bit more balanced in terms of the charts before I start adding in all of the creative coloring. Okay, so I'm not going to get too hung up on the chart here. I am pretty satisfied with the spreading out of the lightings. We've got like the highlights and the shadows reaching the 100 and the 0 lines. I'm no professional, so please, like, nobody in the comments like scream like, oh my God, it's wrong. I am going off of the limited information and experience that I have. Like I said, I'm brand new at this, so I know with time I'll get better. It'll look great. And that is the point of the journey of growth, is you don't start as a pro. And so that's fine. Don't be mad. So here's what we're working with so far. So this is the before and this is the after. So I really, really think that this is looking really good. I'm very impressed that this is literally just like the colors that are inside the image of the camera that I'm able to just manipulate a little bit with the curves and the highlights and the shadows. Like I haven't done anything as far as like creative color design. This is just straight out of the camera and a little bit of S curving here and there. It's beautiful. I just can't stop looking at it. The purpose of me shooting in front of this big green bush and the sky taking up a lot of the image, I really wanted to pull the blue out of this particular shot a lot and really have a very powerful like blue and really pretty green and some gold in there. So we are going to pivot this shot just a little bit to really pull those colors out and really have like just this powerful, like saturated and beautiful shot here. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse this chart because we're now going to pivot it and it's going to look all crazy, and that's okay. Okay, so before, after, pretty crazy difference. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and bring in our LUT. Okay, so I'm thinking... Okay, so we're going to put the LUT underneath all of the color correction that we've done with the S curves and the color wheels and everything, just to make sure that those things that we did when we converted the S-Log to Rec. 709 and all of that color correction is priority first, and this will be underneath. So I went ahead and just kind of put my LUT in here, and I do like the way that this looks. It's really pretty, kind of vintagey feeling, filmy feeling, and I love it. I think it's a little bit too strong, so let's go ahead and dial it back just a little bit. And I'm going to come back into the color wheels, and now I'm going to start messing with the shadows and the highlights and what certain colors are coming through the most and manipulate that. And we're really going to get super creative with it. Okay, so I'm going to add a color wheels underneath the LUT and underneath the original like color correction, so that anything that I change, it should be based off of the LUT, and it should be just a little bit more minimal. So we have like our blank, we have our canvas that we started with, which is the curves and the wheels and the balance color, and we added in the LUT, and now I'm just going to manipulate the LUT rather than coming back in here and changing everything that I started with. So remember that color grading is just a bunch of layers. So it takes time. It can be tedious, especially in something like this where you're shooting in log and you don't have like an already converted image with basically color grading already done in it. This is going to be a little bit more tedious. But if you're like me and you really want to maximize what you're getting out of your image and maximize the dynamic range and the color and just basically the creativity within what you're communicating with what you're shooting, this is the way to go, but just it takes a lot of time. So, okay, I'm going to come back into my second round of color wheels, and I'm going to start pulling on the highlights here because I want to change the color of the sky just a little bit more. I want to push it towards that teal color, and then I'm going to boost the saturation of it just a little bit because I really wanted that sky to be like your eyes just can't, pull away because it's so pretty. And then I definitely want the midtones I'm going to boost the saturation so I can see what colors I'm working with in the midtones here. I don't want it to be green. I'm thinking I want it to still have a goldish color. So to probably combat the green, we might have to make it more in the purpley just a little bit so that it doesn't turn yellow or green. And then maybe we'll just bring down the brightness of it just a little bit. Okay, I like that, but we may mess with it in a little bit. And might just bring down the saturation just a little bit. Let's see. I'm liking the shadows where they're at. I don't want too harsh of an image where it's like super, super strong, contrasty, anything like that. I really like, I like the more of the filmy, everything is kind of seamless. It's not super contrasted. I like that I have the ability to get that from S-Log, but I'm wanting to kind of maintain more of a filmy look. And the shadows typically are not like super, super dark, and the highlights tend to be a little bit more crushed. So I want to maintain that just a little bit. And let's see what colors we're working with in the highlights here. So I don't want to really make my skin too orange or anything like that with the colors that I'm going to be adjusting here. So what do I want to really be the most powerful part of our highlights here? I really like the sunshine. I think that's super pretty with the shadows, but it might be a little bit too much. Yeah, that's not going to look good. So shadows are typically like a cooler color. So let's see. And with it being a midday shot, it makes more sense for the shadows to be a little bit more on the blue side. So let's turn down the saturation there and see kind of what we have going on. And then maybe we can make our midtones a little bit more powerful. Not loving it. Let me see. Whoop. A lot of this is going to be trial and error, and that's totally okay, because for me, I am still like super new at this. So learning the whole process of how to get exactly what I'm looking for is going to take time, and that's okay. So let me just see. I think we're getting somewhere. I think we're getting there. I'm not like in love with it quite yet, but I think I like where this is going. I'm going to lower the saturation of the shadows, then we can really kind of focus on the sunshine that we have in here. Now I'm going to go back into the color curves and maybe amplify some things and maybe work on some balance. Because we've got a lot of like reddish orange in the skin. So I'm going to see if I can kind of fix that just a little bit. Don't want like too much purple. Yeah, this is really pretty. So that's the before so far and the after. Let me see if I can boost this LUT and if I like it anymore. Yeah, that is looking really, really nice. I am not used to getting this much color out of my image, and so it's really, really fun. I am going to turn down the global saturation in this image now that I've kind of got more of a look that I'm going for. So before, after, wow. This is like movie stuff, like dang. Okay, so I really, really am liking this shot. I mean, it just looks crazy. Like this is like taking raw photos and the ability that you have to really like manipulate the image, the freedom that I have right now. I just feel like I have so much power. Crazy. So yeah, this is insane. Okay, so I am going to do another thing. So I'm going to come back in and do a little bit more of like that color refinement. So I'm going to go into my hues, and that way I can maybe fix some areas of my skin where it's like a lot of saturation and lots of red, or maybe I can play more with the color of the sky and really just refine the image even more. So let's have some fun with that. So I'm going to do this and maybe see if I can push that into the greens just a little bit more. Oh, really liking that. And I am just going to go ahead and come into the shadow parts of my skin and just lower that saturation just a hair. It's just a little too orange for me in the shadows of my face, which is not natural unless you had like a reflector on my face, which I didn't. I actually shot this in like pretty harsh lighting, like I said earlier, and it's just I stood in front of the camera with the sun right behind me, and that was it. So okay, that's looking a little bit better there. I don't know what is going on right there. It's like majorly saturated. Let's pull that down just a little bit. Yeah, that's looking really cool. I love how much color I can get from this. This is crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay, I'm liking the bluish greens here. Honestly, I really am struggling to like not like what I'm seeing. This is freaking wild. Let's just play around with some LumaSat. Your eye, after a while, gets used to what you're seeing. And so you have to go back and forth a lot to see what it was that you were working with to decide if that's really what you want. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know if I liked what I did with my lips here. It's so minimal, though. I'm pretty sure you guys are like, what? And that's fine. I'll probably just leave it for now. But let me see. I'm going to go back into my second round of global wheels and maybe boost the saturation now that it's a little bit more pivoted in the right direction. That is just so freaking pretty. It's crazy. Oh no, don't do that. Okay, let me go see if I can boost the saturation of the sky just a little bit more. Which it looks like I already have pushed it. I don't want it to affect my shadows too much, so I'll probably have to pull it back just a little bit, which it looks like the blues and the shadows are a little bit of a different story here. This is just crazy how much versatility you get from log footage. I don't shoot log enough, and I think I'm going to be switching. This is crazy. I love it. All right. And then I will pull this. Oh, I'll pull this down just a little bit. Okay. So let's take a look at where we've come so far. Before, after. Whoa. That is so freaking cool. It looks so professional, which is hilarious because I am a professional like in my industry, but this is just like a whole other level of grading that I really haven't explored all that much. Now, if you know me, you know I love like that vintage feel, that film grain. So Yes, some of you may get so mad at what I'm about to do, but that's fair and that's fine because this is not your video. So I am going to be adding in some grain and you can do with it what you will. I'm just going to add in like 20 here. It is bothering me that I'm not standing right in the middle of the frame. So I'm also going to fix that. Just going to crop the image just a little bit and then move me to the middle. Okay. So are we ready? I think this is going to be the final grade of this image here. So let's look at the final before and after. So before, after. That is remarkable. That is incredible. Anyways, I hope this was fun. I hope you got a good laugh at me sitting here staring at my computer screen trying to make the most of footage that I've never shot before in a scenario I've never shot before. I did use an ND filter, so that kind of helped in the actual shooting process with using log because your ISO starts at 800 in log footage. So an ND filter in these scenarios where you're going to be shooting midday is absolutely necessary. I will leave links to all of my gear that I used in this shot, and I will put in the description the settings that I used within my camera so that if you want to replicate this and try it for yourself, you can. But I hope this was fun. I hope it was insightful. I hope you learned a little bit about like my creative process. And I hope if anything, it challenged you and inspired you to try something new, even if it is a little bit scary and you're not quite sure how you're going to make the most of it and you're not quite sure what it's going to look like on the back end. It can actually be really, really fun to try something new and see it turn out the way that mine did right now. It's super fun and super crazy, and I love this part of my journey. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it was fun. Leave me a like, leave me a comment of anything that you want to see, and I can't wait to hang out with you next Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Ta-ta for now.